Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the show. And as you can tell, today we have a very special guest indeed. We have Francine from The Walking Dead, and that is actress Dahlia Legault. Dahlia, how are you today?
I'm very well. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for the chance for us to get to talk to you today.
Of course.
I think it'd be really cool. Naturally, I'm sure, as you're aware, we'd love to talk to you about The Walking Dead,
Of course.
as I feel you had a pretty important role throughout the movie or the show. But I'd also like to talk to you about sort of your early start into acting as well, if that's okay.
My early start to acting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've been acting for the better portion of my life. It's always been a thing, ever since I was a child. I knew it's what I wanted to do, blah, blah, blah. And of course, as mostly everybody does, I started in theater in high school. I progressed very quickly throughout there. I immediately went into professional theater right out of getting to high school, if that's believable. So I went in and I did theater for a good amount of time. I would say after high school, I joined a bunch of Shakespearean theater companies, and traveled a little with that. And then I did go to university. I did go to the University of South Florida because back then, maybe it's the same back now, but back then it's like you couldn't do anything without a bachelor's degree. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I think now things are changing, which I wish they had been this way back then. So I went and got a bachelor's in theater and performance, and then went right back into, I would say, because I was in Florida most of the time, the jobs paid well, but I could not make a living off of it, off of my theater gigs. So I started to notice a bunch of my friends pop up on TV. And so I didn't know that television and film had come to the southeastern portion of the United States. And that's when I switched over. But yeah, throughout my 20s, it was theater at all points in time. I think I started with doing 2 shows per year, and then it augmented to maybe 4 or 5.
Wow.
So while the show went into performance, then I would immediately start rehearsing for something else. So it was constant. Yeah, it was constant. But and that's why I just kind of got tired of it, I guess. Theater is a lot of work. Not only talk about the memorization. It's just so difficult. You don't get second chances with anything. You got to do it perfectly just the one time through. Now when I think back about it, and I'm like, I don't know how I did that for so long.
It's funny because I've spoke to a few people in the past that did a similar path with you and started out in theater. And this is coming from a non-actor's perspective, right? And I just couldn't think of anything more challenging ever than just this consistency of having to be on point every single time.
And actually it's funny, what made me finally call theater quits was I think I did one more thing after that, but my last main role in theater was Maggie on Cat in the Hot Tin Roof. So huge role. I'm a huge fan of Liz Taylor and Tennessee Williams, so I love doing it. But Maggie, throughout the first act of the play, she literally talks for 45 minutes straight. Brick, the other man in the room, speaks to me 3 times and only says so many words. So it's just me there talking for an entire 45 minutes. And that's when I was like, yeah, I'm getting too old for this. There was one time where, I just went up and I looked at my actor on stage and I'm like, you got to help me out right here. And he had to kind of spurt out improv lines to get me back on track to where I was. And that's terrifying, your face goes white.
Of course. I think theatre performers are definitely the unsung heroes of this kind of industry, and I can't say any more positive things about them. It's something that petrifies me.
Yeah, I don't know how I did it for so long, but I enjoyed every moment of it. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. You do have a bunch of different, a lot of it can just be work. sometimes you get out of bed and you're like, oh God, I really don't want to perform tonight. But at the same time, you have great experiences on stage, great experiences. So I would say if anybody has the opportunity to try it out in any way, I would say go for it and see whether it's something for you,
Absolutely. So when you made that transition from theatre stage performer to on-screen actor, for you, was that like a difficult transition?
It kind of was, because one, I had been doing theater for very, very long, but theater is, the larger you can be, the better it will look. Camera work is, the smaller, the less you do, the better it looks, unless you're, unless it's like hugely like comical, that's a different story. But still, it's about controlling, it's really just about controlling your face, which sounds funny. But then when you have to like emote a bunch of emotion, you have to really keep your face still. When you're in theater, everything's very big and you're trying to make and then your voice has to carry throughout an entire theater. There are no mics in theater. I mean, when you're singing, there are, but so when I tried to go into TV, all of a sudden, like I was on camera and people kept on telling me, they're like, Dahlia, you need to do less with your face. You need to tone it down, make everything very small. And so then everything, everything you have to emulate everything just like this. And everything has to be very, very small. But then you have to emote while talking in this small format. And yes, that took me a little while, not too long, but it took me a little while, record yourself, watch it over, fix, kind of direct yourself in the way that, do your own research on it. I mean, always take classes. If there are classes, always take classes. But yeah, the better you know yourself, the better you know how your face works and how you can look through a camera.
Exactly. It's kind of like practice makes perfect, right? I suppose that's kind of like the perfect way to put it.
Of course.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like your transition then from when you first sort of started on screen acting, The Walking Dead was pretty close for when you started.
Walking Dead, surprisingly, is what got me into the union. I didn't even have a SAG card before Walking Dead.
Wow,
So that
that's
was
incredible.
Like, and honestly, I would say that, not that, your hard work always constantly, pays off. But the whole Walking Dead situation, I really believe that I was just in the right place at the right time. Like, I knew that, I was a good actor already. I had over 10 years of experience. So, I knew how to do what I wanted to do. Again, the switch over into camera was just something I needed to learn very quickly. And like I said, it happened very quickly because I lived with a person who would do online tapings for people. So I lived that. So I had a camera in my house. I had everything there. He was a coach about it too. And so I'd been living with this person for about a year, just renting a room, and he had already gotten onto The Walking Dead. I think he was on like season 2 or something. And he just started introducing me to people. I went to one class. The coach there introduced me to an agent. That agent got me seeing some casting directors in North Carolina. And literally not too long after that, I think I had auditioned for Walking Dead maybe twice before booking Francine. But then, I booked Francine. But then because of other situations, because Jennifer Lynch was the director of that episode. And she's the one that picked me out. She told me that when I met her. So sometimes I think had Jennifer Lynch not been the director of that episode, I might have not even gotten there.
It's pretty clear that it was meant to be. You were always meant to play Francine, and that's so cool. I think you were, for me, like you were perfect for that role. I just felt like I couldn't have imagined anyone else playing Francine.
Well, thank you.
And Francine is such an important role. She had some big moments in the show, from the iconic moments of sort of punching Tobin. And there was also another scene, something that I wanted to ask you as well. There was a scene where Francine is standing like on top of a forklift, right?
Oh yeah,
So were you
yeah, like
actually
a bulldozer.
standing on top of it?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Were you
yeah.
actually standing on top of that?
I was standing on that. As you're standing on it. No, I can't remember. I can't remember. They must have hooked me to something. I
It
can't
looked
remember.
high.
Right? Because that's a huge insurance liability. So I'm pretty sure they hooked me on something. But yeah, they raised it. Maybe like, yeah, it must have been like 7 feet off the ground, maybe 6 or 7 feet off the ground, because they needed that. But I mean, with the angle, it wasn't so extreme. If it makes you and everybody feel better, me falling off of the bulldozer is a stunt person. So yeah, so that is not me who's falling off. But yes, no, they had to raise me in the air.
Absolutely. And
On the board.
and of course the ending for Francine where she was gunned down kind of by the saviors. I felt throughout your time there that we definitely saw glimpses of her kind of being a leader and, supporting from the front line. Just a question for you, really. Do you feel that had she not been sort of killed off when she was, and she was still in the show today, do you feel that she would be in the forefront and like one of the kind of leaders of the show?
I think definitely with film, sorry, with TV, and especially when you're adapting scripts from things that are already written. I don't know whether you're familiar with the comic book or not. Graphic novel, sorry. But I believe that Francine was kind of mirroring the character Holly that ends up being with Abraham. And what they do in the show a lot of times, and this happens with a few different characters, they kind of split up storylines and end up giving storylines to other people.
Yeah.
So I believe that Sonequa Martin Green actually got the majority of Holly's story. And I could be wrong about this, but I think because I was a small contender within the starting of that show, I don't think they gave me, enough material. But that's how it works in show business. I'm a person who snuck in through the back door without a SAG card, and they're kind of like, well, who is this?
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, I would say very little people from that war does. I mean, the main characters did. It's kind of funny because the other people who were killed off in that one battle, I knew prior to get onto the show as well.
Wow.
So yeah, so I think, yeah, Brendan, I knew Brendan, Jeremy Palco. Actually, Jeremy and Palco used to travel together to get there to the set. And we're both killed off of that one episode. And it's funny, then in Talking Dead, they actually featured us, like, rip this person.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, because the thing is that Walking Dead, what they do is that they don't tell anybody when they're getting killed off. You just get a phone call.
Okay.
You just get a phone call like the day before the shoot date. By Scott Gimple and the producers. I think I got my call from Scott Gimple. Yeah. The producer, kindly gives you a phone call and then like, well, tomorrow you're getting killed off. And that happens with every actor there.
Wow.
Everyone. So it's like, you don't know,
Right.
and you have no idea who they're going to kill off next. Neither do the actors. I heard a story about, I can't remember who it was, and I probably shouldn't mention who it was, but prior to me being on the show, like I said, the guy I lived with us on it. And one of the actors, like, on set got the call that they were being killed off. And apparently they like broke down in tears, and they're on set, it's just like middle of the day. Sorry, this is your last day of work.
That's insane.
So it's like, I don't know. Maybe she could have, maybe not. And again, I think, the storyline that she originally had already kind of trailed off to somebody else. So I think it was planned ahead of time that me and my friend Jeremy were going to be the ones who died in that war. So, but again, I don't know how how far they, you know, write the script of such, you know.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the thing I felt as well. Not necessarily during the time you were on, but maybe just after it, the show was going in such crazy directions that I can't imagine they were planning way far ahead. I think it must have been quite short space of time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've seen as well on a lot of videos as well, because there's actually a couple of YouTube clips that's done your sort of Francine's best moments
Oh,
in the
I've
show.
seen it. Yeah. I've seen it.
And
Yeah.
if you see the comments, all the comments say like they should have never got, like she should have never left the show. Like there was so much more potential for her.
Where do I find that? Where do I find, is that Instagram?
No, there's I can link it to you later. It's on YouTube.
Oh, sweet. Yes, please do. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
I
a
didn't.
lot. There's like hundreds of comments.
That's great. That's great. That's great. So yeah, that's great. I'll have to check that out. But you know, funny enough, now that we're talking about this, small bit, right after, I might have still been doing Walking Dead, I'm not sure, but I was supposed to be on the second season of Stranger Things, right? And
Wow.
yeah, well, no, and this is what's like, we're talking about how quickly things can change. I auditioned for it. My agent calls me. She's like, "You're being sent to production." Then she calls me again. She's like, "It's between you and one other person." And then I get cast for the show. I don't get booked. Booked, it's when it's absolutely,
Yeah.
you know, legitimate. So I'm cast, I'm not booked. So my agent's like, "Okay, we just have to wait for the casting dates for the booking." And usually that happens within 1 or 2 days. But this went like a week, and then they're like, "Okay, we're going to do it the following 2 weeks." And then 2 weeks go by, and then they're like, "Okay, well, no, now we're going to film it in the next shooting, whatever the hell." And already I knew something was wrong. So then they come out and they're like, "Sorry, we're re-auditioning the role." They changed the age bracket. I was still in the age bracket. And then I do not get the role. I do not get cast in the show. Somebody else gets it. Upon the episode coming out, I would have been irate if the person looked exactly like me and was younger. I would have been irate. But no, what I realized is that the person was African-American, you know, younger, but like African-American or something like that. So I think what happened was it was a demographic issue.
Yeah.
TV and film is very, very specific about, you know, sometimes it's all race, all ethnicity, you know, other times it's like, no, this person needs to be of this demographic. So I think Stranger Things, they probably didn't have enough demographics on the show at the time. You know, too many, you know, so that's why I think they had to flip everything around and then relocate the. So yeah, I was supposed to be there. And then
that would have been so cool.
That would have been so
cool
awesome.
Are you a fan? Have you followed?
Things, that would have been amazing.
Have you followed Stranger Things?
No, you know what? After I watched that episode, no, I boycotted it.
Do you know, I would have done the same thing, so I'm with you on that one.
I'm like, F you, you don't get my viewership anywhere. I mean, no, not that I was angry. I was just kind of.
No, I know, I get it, of course.
Yeah.
So with your time on The Walking Dead, what was it like working with the cast?
The cast is amazing. I would say, you know, because everybody started like, you know, dying off, my friendships with certain people didn't go on that long. The one person who I still talk to is Seth Gilliam.
Yeah.
That's the only person who I still like, you know, that I see from time to time. But at the same time, it depends, you know, it's like, it depends what I saw is that it depends like at what point in time you're cast for the show, because you already have these like little groups of people who have worked so long together, you know, and they kind of like, you know, they format relationships within themselves, and then somebody's, you know, and so they grow in different sections. I would say, yeah, the people that I was close to, obviously Seth, Ross Marquand. I was very, Ross, Seth, Kendrick, well, Cindy Martin Green's husband. So, but again, that was all kind of Alexandria,
Yeah.
You know, the Alexandrians like hung out with one another. And then like, you know, I mean, I did work with JDM. I did work with Jeffrey Dean Morgan quite a bit, but you know, he always had a lot of responsibility on his hands. So did Andrew Lincoln. You know, they were always Melissa McBride. They were always like just very into their work. So it's like, and because I was new and because I was a smaller thing, you know, I would never go up to them and just like try to start like menial conversation because it really looked like they were in their element, you know. So yeah, I would say that, I mean, Norm Reedus and I weren't all that bad. We had a just jokes, Norm and I. Making stupid jokes, making fun of Seth, making fun of, yeah. So yeah, I would say Seth, Kenrick, and Ross. And then of course, Jeremy Palco, who we would drive there together. So.
Oh, that's quality.
Yeah.
So did you ever see the show kind of before you were casted for it, or?
Absolutely. I mean, still now, you know, when auditioning for other things, it's like you always have to watch what you're auditioning for to figure out, you know, the mood of it, what the style of it is. And Walking Dead has it's a very, very specific style of acting, you know what I mean? Sometimes it can go like really over the top, but I mean, like if you do that, you know, that's what fits into the style. So yeah, and it was funny. I started watching it because Meadows and Annette was like, oh, well, you know, you could be auditioning for these shows. You should start watching it. And it's funny, when I first started watching Walking Dead, I became like absolutely freaking obsessed with it. You know, they leave on this cliffhanger all the time. I think at one point my Netflix like went down and like freaked out. I was like, no. But so yeah, I got into the whole hook of it, you know, the first 2 seasons, because those seasons were they were on point, you know. The farm, just so yeah, so then I really just completely got a sense of it before auditioning to it. Again, maybe one of the other reasons why it happened so easily for me. I can watch things and then like I've been trying to get onto the show Blacklist forever. I've auditioned for that thing like 10 times already. And I know I'm doing it right. There's just too many people auditioning for it. I will be on a show this May, but I don't think I can talk about it. I think I'm under
That's fine.
NDA. But again, I had to watch that show too. Yeah, so it's very, very important, I would say, when acting for anything, to figure out, yeah, the mood of it, the feeling of it. You know, if you come into Walking Dead acting like you're on Friends, you know, I mean, but I would say, how about this? If you walk into like, you know, I don't know, I guess there's a lot of Law and Order type stuff. You know, there's Law and Order, there's Blacklist, there's like Blue Bloods, you know, that's all one style, the detective kind of cop thing. Then you have yeah. So you just need to know like the rhythm and the style of what you're auditioning for.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think hopefully if there's any sort of people like aspiring to be an actor, you know, that's some cool information that they can take with them. So I appreciate that. Speaking of kind of styles and genres, is there a particular genre of movie or TV that you haven't done yet that you'd really like to do?
Good question. I would say there was one, I did do one, so it's kind of not exactly what you asked. But I did do one episode on a comedy show that only lasted a season. But if I could work full time as a comedic actor of sorts, that's where I'd want to be.
Yeah.
That's where I'd want. Otherwise, the one thing that I have not tried yet is, you know, full-fledged horror. And I love horror film.
Yes.
But I don't really know if I'd want to do horror film. It's just too the blood and the screaming and the yeah. So I've pretty much tried out about everything. I did a children's film one time. But yeah, if I could do full-fledged just comedy every day, that's where I'd like to be. It's easier.
That'd be great, really, wouldn't it? Like you could just go to work, kind of do some acting, have a laugh, go home. That's
fun.
like the
You're
dream.
having fun. You're making people laugh, you know. being really creative with what you're doing, Yeah,
Yeah.
I would do comedy all the time.
Oh, cool. So I've seen recently you kind of did a couple of movies called Bernie and the Dolphin 1 and 2.
That's what I was saying, children's movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A question I kind of had was sort of for yourself, your preparation between, because you just kind of came off The Walking Dead, and I just feel like that's such polar opposites of kind of so like
kind of like Christian in some sort of a way. I think they're like, at one point I think we start praying or some weird thing like that, and I'm like, okay. Again coming from theater, it's like you really do just have to flip. And I wouldn't consider myself like a method actor of any means. Like, not that you can't play different characters, but method acting is very based on like your on your own personality and your own experiences. Where then you have character acting, where it's like, no, the character is separate from you, and you have to become this thing that that does not exist yet. And I say I lean more towards there, more towards that thing. It's a representation of something that does not exist yet. So, and from doing, theater for so long, I mean, I went to, I used to play male Shakespeare characters.
Oh, okay.
Cut my hair off and then just, and completely, play a man. And then in the next one, play Maggie the cat on Cat in a Hot Tin Roof,
Wow.
the script is what it is. The script, it is a thing. And I think because I don't get stuck in like emotional attachment to the thing I'm playing. That's not my approach to it. A ton of people, I would say half the people on Walking Dead did it in that manner. Andrew Lincoln is entirely always in his JDM. They're always like completely, and that's why you can't really like bug them when they're like we're in the middle of it, because they can't like kind of flip out of it so quickly. I mean, they can, but then it ruins the rhythm of the production itself. So no, I would say that's not difficult for me. I mean, I'm sure it shocked the crap out of everybody else, because all of a sudden I'm this like, mother of two. But no, I would say that was my job in theater. You do one thing and it's this way, and then the next time, it's on paper. It's on paper, and the person exists and they have a personality, and it's just building that and then transforming yourself into the character. So
amazing.
Yeah.
So I know you said before there's a project or show coming out. You can't talk about it yet. I'll keep an eye out for
I can tell you,
gets announced.
I can tell you like on message. I don't think I can like announce it publicly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, so I mean, what we could do is if you let me know, and then off camera, and then I could kind of, once it's released, I can kind of put a post out about it, so to make sure people go and check it out.
By all means, yes, you'll definitely know.
Brilliant. Delving a little bit different into sort of acting, is there other sort of things you want to try as well, maybe whether it's producing or screenwriting?
Yeah, it's very funny you asked that, because lately I've been thinking, yes, there's definitely something I want to write. And I've been thinking about this just like it's been over like the past year, I'd say, with pandemic and everything, just so many weird experiences. So yes, actually, like this past 2 weeks I've been thinking, so I just got a computer like literally yesterday. So now I've written smaller things, but never have I written like a full length anything. So that will take me some time to maybe, but as all does, because I've never written something full length, I can't expect it to happen in a few months. It'll probably take me a year.
Yeah.
I've been I watched I don't know if have you watched Fleabag with
I haven't.
Oh my God, so brilliant. And this woman wrote it as a one-woman show and then turned it into a 2-season a 2-season television show, and it is absolutely brilliant. And what Phoebe Waller-Bridge also did was that when the whole Me Too movement came out, the 007 movies, the James Bond movies, actually went to her to kind of rewrite the script in some format where it wouldn't be so offensive to women. So, and that I look up to her. She's one of my idols, because here's this, you know, this woman who maybe had been trying to be an actress, wasn't really going so well. So she's like, F this, I'm going to sit down and write my own thing. And she ends up getting awards for it. But then again, it's like, you know, these things don't happen overnight. You need to take your time with it. And at this point, I'm thinking like, I need to get a book. I need to like, Phoebe Wallace-Bridge, actually, I guess she teaches some like online class of stuff that would cost me a fortune. But definitely writing something, it would be on the humor side of things, dark humor. And that's kind of already rolling. Otherwise, I have directed small things in the past. And I love directing. I think pursuing directing as a full-time career at this point, not that it's too late, but I would have to shift all of my attention to that. You know, and then the baby steps to get to something huge. I don't have a degree in directing. You know, you can't walk into, I mean, I did with my acting in Walking Dead, but like, you know, that means I'd have to create this whole network of, you know, go out and market myself. And I don't have a lot of things on my resume for that. I have to start small theater productions where it had to start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rent tiny like black box theaters and do all this stuff. And like, so that would take my absolute full attention, which I might still, but writing is what's going on right now.
That's awesome. You know, I think that's what's something that I kind of find quite enticing, especially with speaking to a lot of actors over the last sort of few months. And it's fascinating how, you know, from my perspective, I always feel like acting is that art form and that's what they're passionate about, but they always end up finding screenwriting or producing. And
I mean, Maggie Gyllenhaal that just directed The Lost Daughter. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
What? It's like, what? I haven't heard from Maggie, you know, Gyllenhaal in like 50 years. Always she just comes and bangs that out. I'm just like, oh my God.
I think once you have it never goes away. It's always there. It's just whenever you want to showcase.
Yeah. So yeah.
You know, that's great as well. That's because, funnily enough, the question I was going to ask you afterwards about who inspires you, but you know, we've kind of covered that, so that's really cool. I have a couple more questions for you, if that's okay.
Of course.
This is going to kind of be regarding the comic convention side of things.
Okay.
So I've seen over the few years you've attended quite a few conventions. What is your overall experience with them?
I love Comic-Cons. Comic-Cons were just exceptional. You meet so many people and you go so many places. And you know, the places I went to Coventry. I was sent to Coventry, England. I know that's an expression, you know, I think when you're sent to. So I went to Coventry. I went to Austria, went to Vienna, Austria, which was absolute. Well, the Comic-Con was in Linz, but then I got to see Vienna, which was just amazing. And then, the people that you meet, you know, I was one time in the backseat of a limo with Robert Englund, because I was at a Walker Stalker and he was there. And the first Walker Stalker that I attended, I actually just took a picture of him in his booth, kind of a thing. But then like a second one, like, no, we're both going back to the hotel. So I'm sitting back there with Robert Englund, like right in front of me. And I'm kind of a nobody. You know what I mean? I'm just like, hi. There's that. I met Zach Galligan from the Gremlins. I met a couple of people from who was it? The most impressive thing. Walter Jones from Power Rangers. A bunch of the guys from Clerks. The most amazing one, though. This is the one in Coventry. I go, and two of the child actors from the original Willy Wonka were there. But as old, you know, obviously they're old men, and that just like shattered shattered my brain. I'm like, holy wait, Charlie Bucket isn't Charlie Bucket's a it's like my TV's an old man. That was the weirdest.
Yeah.
That was definitely the weirdest. You know, this thing that exists in your mind as something you grew up with as a child, and then it's like, oh shit, no, it's just excuse my language. Yeah.
No, of
Yeah.
course, I completely get that. I think who was it I think it was no, it couldn't have been last year, a few years ago. This is before the whole COVID thing happened. I remember I met the twins from The Shining.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like mind, but I just felt like it's crazy.
Real. You're not real.
I know. It's like sometimes you're just like, are you really that person? But it's such a surreal thing, and it's really cool to get to speak to people like you who's kind of on the other side of it. Do you have any kind of particular moments with fans or viewers of the shows that kind of stick in your mind the most?
I mean, yeah, I would say within the Comic-Con era was very fun. I mean, of course, people would come up to me and like, of course, a lot of them would like, you know, tear up in fashion, you know, which was huge to me because I wasn't really, like, I do not consider myself a huge part of that show. You know, she was a prominent character. I think she could have done a little more, in my opinion. But yeah, it's fascinating to me. And I mean, I used to be into the show in that fashion as well. But no, just when people come up to you and they, you know, they're just so ecstatic to see you, it really brings, you know, some warmth into, you know, it's like, okay, well, it's not only is it good to be appreciated, but just like your presence is making somebody else happy, you know.
Yeah.
And that's good. And then of course, back when it was possible, being recognized in public was kind of cool. That doesn't happen anymore. Too much time has gone by, but
no, I do completely agree with you. I think with Francine, there was a lot more that I think she could have done, and personally think she should have stayed around a bit longer. I think there was more she could have offered. But like you said, sometimes that's just how it goes with these production companies. But yeah, Dahlia, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
You too. Lovely.